After all of the info we've gotten for Madden 26 and all the time we were able to play it from the beta and me playing it early at EA, I'm confident that these are 5 big things that Madden 26 does better than Madden 25. And number 1, right out of the gate, we've got to talk about player movement. They finally updated the player movement and they've made it faster and snappier once again. We have not had player movement that was considered fast since last gen. Now, it's not nearly as arcadey as it was on last gen. That was a little bit crazy. However, it is a nice balance between what College Football 25 was and where Madden has been the last few years on current gen consoles. Since Madden 21 on the now current gen consoles, the movement in Madden has been a lot more sluggish. It just felt like you couldn't quite stop on a dime too much. Didn't feel like you had enough user control. It kind of felt like you were more stuck in mud. Now, from a technical standpoint, it did lean a little bit more into realism, into simulation, but a lot of people that play these games, they want faster, more responsive user control, even if that means the gameplay is slightly more arcadey. And College Football 25 kind of proved that when everybody loved the gameplay of that compared to what Madden had been for the past few years. It was just simply more fun to play, even if it was technically a little less realistic. It felt like you had full user control on the field. You could juke, you could spin, you could actually fake people out, you could make highlight plays, and at the end of the day, most people that are playing sports games, that's what they want. They want fun plays, they want responsive movement, and sometimes you got to get a little slight ways away from realism to make that happen. But what Madden 26 has done is they have not gone completely College Football 25 or College Football 26. They found a nice balance to still try to keep it as realistic as possible, but it is much faster in comparison to where it has been in the last few years, and it feels a lot more responsive. And for me, playing Madden 26, the little bit that I did get to play it with the beta and at EA, it was a lot more fun than the previous versions of the game. Number 2, defense. Now, this is a hot topic in Madden every year because usually at best, the defense in Madden is just okay. It's never usually too great. We've seen a few years where it has been, and to be honest, it usually makes for a less fun game. However, there's a lot of years where the defense is just flat out bad. So it's kind of always an area that needs to be tweaked and needs to be balanced. Now, I know most of us aren't expecting it to be perfect. We know that the AI is never going to fully replicate real life humans. And hey, even the real life humans mess up a ton in real life on defense. They blow coverages, they miss tackles, they diagnose plays wrong all the time. So expecting AI computer defenders to be better than that is kind of silly. But there are also just instances of players flat out not playing their zone the way they're supposed to play it when it's just a simple assignment. Now, for this year, where I feel like Madden got a lot better on defense is the fact that they made man coverage a lot better. Now, that's not to say that you can't beat man coverage. Of course you can. Good wide receivers are going to be able to cook. Certain routes are going to be better versus man than other routes. But with the way that they have buffed up man defense, made the leverage play a little bit better, and also added a new route commit feature that lets you sell out on either an individual receiver or the entire offense if you really believe that there's a route going a certain way, that really takes man defense to another level. And even looking at the current college football game, look, college football and Madden are going to have a lot of gameplay similarities, and man defense is pretty solid in college football as well, so I'm even more confident that this is going to be just as good in Madden. I think man defense is going to be a viable way to play the game, and it's going to kind of be more of a 50-50 defense, which it should be. Sometimes you're going to win, but sometimes you're going to lose. There's not just going to be guaranteed wins every single play. And they also did a ton of work with cover 2 defenses, specifically the deep half safety zones. They're going to play a ton better in this game. And again, going back to College Football 26, these games share a lot of these same mechanics and the same coding and the way that the game plays because it is still American football, and cover 2 defense is pretty good in college football as well. Now, college football doesn't have great defense top to bottom. It's easy to make big plays. It's easy to score on them because of pursuit and other things like that. But just specifically speaking on how the defenders play in a cover 2, they play it very well. The issue with college football is you drop a lot of interceptions and the pursuit just leaves a lot to be desired, which makes it hard to get stops. But in Madden, those things aren't as bad. Pursuit is better in Madden than it has been in college football, at least judging off last year. And dropped picks, while are still a thing in Madden, they don't seem to be quite as bad as they are in college football. So when you take the improvements to man defense and the improvements that were made to the deep half zones, which greatly improves cover 2, and then you add in things like the new stunts and twists for the defensive line, which are really, really good. They were really good in College Football 26, and when I played Madden, they were really good in Madden as well. This really just takes defense to a new level. Number 3, presentation. This is probably the biggest overhaul of the entire game. It has been the area that Madden has lacked for a very long time. This has always been an area that I've talked about a lot when it comes to Madden, both leading up to the game and after the game's release, talking about how the presentation just isn't where it should be for modern day football games. Well, this year they finally did a massive overhaul in this department, and I still think there's some other things they can do to make this even better, and they should do that going forward, but it's good to see that they have finally taken this seriously. For starters, we finally have a legitimate halftime show for franchise mode hosted by Scott Hansen that shows not only replays from games you didn't play, but it will show replays from your friends' games in an online franchise. There's also a weekly wrap-up show with Scott Hansen that also shows plays that happened during the week. We now got different broadcast packages for all of the primetime games. Last year, they finally added multiple announce crews. Now they've assigned them to the specific primetime games, and they each have their own unique scoreboard, their unique graphics and music, and it just makes each game feel different and special. They've also updated all of the team entrances or stadium runouts to be unique to each team. So you'll see the teams do these traditions that they do pre-game in real life before the game, which again, not only adds to the presentation, but makes each team feel unique and not like every team has the exact same intro. And they've also even added things like real-life stadium graphics from the real NFL teams to the teams in-game so that every team doesn't have the exact same generic graphics. And there's a lot more little things like this that you'll find out when you get the game, but from top to bottom, presentation completely knocks any previous Madden out of the park. Number 4, franchise mode. Now this is another hot topic, and it's also something that people are really sensitive over because franchise mode fans feel like they were neglected for a long time, and there was a period where they were, and they feel like the mode should be a lot better than it is right now given how far along the series is. Now franchise mode, in my opinion, has gotten better every year over the last 4 years, simply because they've been adding a ton of stuff to it, either things that they're bringing back to the game or even introducing some new things to the game. But that's not saying a whole lot because if you go back 4 years, franchise mode was in a really rough state. It was very bare bones, and each year it has technically gotten better because, I mean, if you add more to what's there, it's gonna get a little bit better by default. But truly, I think we're at the point of franchise mode now that if you look back a few years ago on the fixed Madden franchise backlash, the mode has really come a long way. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. We know the menus, for one, have been an area that a lot of people are frustrated about because they're just a little too slow, but they did say this year that they put a lot of resources into making sure the menus would run faster. They've also dropped old gen, so I don't know if that potentially helps this out in any way, but that is like one sore spot that kind of had made people not want to play it as much. There are still some other areas that can be better, like custom contracts and just some other little things, but when you look at what they've done over the last few years and then what they've brought this year, I mean, the presentation alone that we just talked about is going to be bigger for franchise mode than it really is for anything else. Presentation goes hand in hand with franchise, and that is leaps better than last year, which by default makes franchise mode even better. They've also made the coaches more realistic so that they call plays exactly how they do in real life. They've also added new coaching abilities that you can strategically equip and unequip depending on your opponent so that you can set up a real game plan for who you're playing. And they've also just added quality of life things like knowing the weather before you get to the game or knowing who's injured before you get to the game, which it's weird to say that that wasn't there before, but it wasn't. So now you can fully game plan for not just the team, but who's actually playing, the elements, and anything else, and vice versa. The AI coaches will game plan for you. So if you have a star player out, they're going to shift how they play against you as well. They've also added the ability to create play sheets going into each specific game. So really, a big focus on franchise this year, aside from the presentation upgrades, is really just true game planning, both for you and for the AI. And I think for a lot of people, this is the kind of depth that they want because it makes it feel like each game and each week is unique. And that's really what they said their goal was this year, was to make every week feel unique and special in franchise mode instead of feeling like you're just playing the same game every week, just a different opponent. And on top of that, there's even more little things they added, like coach approval ratings. Basically, this is a rating that you have to monitor through your career, and the same is going to go for the computer controlled teams, where you have to be in good standing with your GM, your staff, your players, your fans, and the media. And all of this is going to factor into your approval rating. And if your approval rating drops to a certain point, that's when you get fired. So you need to be able to please all of these different people to keep your approval rating high. You have a lot more things to consider now, both in game planning and just how you're performing as a coach. And they even added the wear and tear system from college football over to Madden as well. So this is yet another layer that's going to make franchise mode more realistic. You have to really manage how you're using your players, when to rest players, when to make them play through injury, because they're going to have season health, but also career long health. And if you're running players into the ground, they could have a shorter career because of that. Number 5, realism, and this is really the best way to wrap this video up. I think when you consider everything they've done for Madden 26, it's just a more realistic game overall. The presentation just takes it up another level. The addition of things like wear and tear into franchise mode and real-time coaching suggestions that have the coaches calling plays exactly how they would in real life, and also telling you the thought process behind why they're suggesting this play, to the AI coaches actually coaching their teams exactly how they would, to all of the new signature QB traits and DNA that makes QBs play like themselves and look like themselves, from the way Kyler Murray has more tendency to scramble and the way he runs, to Josh Allen being more likely to try to run over a defender, from Lamar Jackson being more likely to juke a defender, to every QB having signature throwing motions that actually look like their real life release, to all of the long overdue weather upgrades like the heavy rain and heavy snow that actually makes weather games look more intense. It's just a more realistic game from top to bottom. Now, again, does that mean that there's not going to be cheesy stuff in the gameplay? Of course not. It's a video game. It's Madden. There's going to be cheesy stuff. If you're playing online, it's going to be that type of a game no matter what. Does that mean that every single aspect of the game is going to be the most realistic you've ever seen? Probably not. There's going to be areas that still need some work. But when comparing it to Madden 25 and even some of the previous year's Maddens, this is definitely the most realistic Madden we have seen in a long time. Now, while this Madden did get a lot of great upgrades, there are still a few key things that this game is missing. And if you want to know what those things are, make sure to check out this important video right here on the screen.